Hi, my name is Alan Chapman. I was very big and strong before I came into my own crisis. I started playing rugby when I was 37 and I carried on playing. I don't like to think that I've retired quite yet. I carried on playing until I was into my late 50s. And then I took up running and endurance running and endurance hill running. So when I came into my crisis, I was typical kind of midlife man, doesn't talk about emotions, and not much anyway, and likes to think that you're kind of invincible because that's how you're brought up to be. And physically, mentally, I was really strong. Oldest son, oldest cousin, and some other stuff that I could explain. But let's just say I was immensely strong, and some stuff came along, particularly the suicide of my partner in 2015, and then some other things. I lost my dad, which was profound because we brought him home and cared for him, and it was a good death, but it's terrifically traumatic, especially a year after a suicide and training and running marathons and all that. And all through this I was suicidal, but I couldn't kind of admit it to myself, and I wasn't really talking to anyone properly about it, and not admitting it to myself. And then gradually I started to disintegrate further, and pretty quickly with some other things happening, because these things they tend to come not just one. You're vulnerable, and then you get hit by some other things, because that's what vulnerability is. And you're open to all kinds of other things that come along, other traumas that come along. And that's what happened to me, one after the other. And I was brought to my knees and nearly died. So I've been there, and I kind of stayed suicidally ideated for quite a long period, years in fact, before I realised what was going on and learned how to drive the roller coaster. No one teaches you this stuff, and it's different for everybody. That's one thing. It's different for everybody, but I think there are some patterns. So what are the things that were useful for me? Well, one thing I learned was it's important to breathe. That's simple, but the breath and breathing is very important, because when we panic and when we get into this kind of high stress anxiety situation, we tend to breathe quickly and quite shallow, and what we need to do is the opposite, and just take a moment to just do a lot of that, and that straight away starts to calm, and then when you get the calm back, start thinking about what you love, what is really important to you, what's your passion, and I could tell you what my passions are, but there's a clue here because I'm out in the countryside, and I've already said I'm a bit of a runner and a hill runner, but that's not the answer for everybody. For some it's gardening, or it's cooking, or it's building things in a shed, but fundamentally it's about connecting with what is in your heart. And this sometimes often is something that we lose touch with, especially if we've got to work and we have had a few decades of conditioning to make us think that we have to live in a way that isn't natural. So if you get into a real crisis, it's difficult to think that some of these simple things can be life-changing in a positive way. So think about what's really important to you, whatever it is. And maybe a way to do this, I think, is think about what you loved as a little boy or a child. What this isn't just about men, but men are particularly vulnerable in midlife, as all the suicide statistics show. So what was it you loved as a little boy? And then try to do some of that, as much of it as you can, actually. What else is important? Well, talking is really important to other people who have been through the journey, because with the greatest respect to doctors and many psychologists, and everybody's doing their best, but the people who know best, like anything in life, are the people who've lived through it, and that's particularly so with suicidal disintegration. Find people who have lived through it, and they can tell you what the journey's like, because it's not as bad as it seems. It's hell when you're in it. I mean, it's a pain, let's face it, it's a pain that's so bad it makes you want to kill yourself and attempt. And that's part of my background. So I've been there, I've been in this kind of hell where you think it's never going to end, and you feel like a scraped out hollow shell and a ghost, and it's just, and no one can understand it unless they've been through it, and they're they've lived it. And I have, and so I can understand this, and thankfully I've been through it and come out the other side. And that's what's really important, to know that there is another side. What they don't tell you as well is that when you come through it, the other side, if you believe it and you want to make it so, you can come out the other side and you can be more powerful than you ever believed possible. And you won't believe that at the moment if you're in a hellhole. If you're in that hell at the moment, you won't believe that there is that kind of incredible light afterwards. But I promise you there is. And if you want to do it, do it. Do it for the people that love you. Do it, and there are lots and lots of people that love you, even though when you're in the hellhole, you don't believe that anybody loves you, and you believe that you're the most worthless piece of shite that ever existed. But you're not. You're amazing. And people love you. And if you do it, if you kill yourself, which, let's face it, that's what this is about. If you do that, you will leave behind you a trail of devastation. And you'll get through it. You can get through this. You can get through this. And then I promise you, there is this most incredible, miraculous light at the end of it when you come out the other side. It hurts like hell. And this is the point about growth through trauma. It hurts, and nobody teaches you this. And the doctors that prescribe the tablets, okay, tablets are important for some people, like a bit of alcohol is important for some people, but not to the extent that it'll stop you making your own decisions. That's what's important, to make your own decisions and not give up that. Even if your decision is to stay in bed all day, because it's okay to not be okay. And there are some days where you just want to stay in bed all day with the covers pulled over your head. And if that's what you want to do, do that. Do that. Get up when you're ready. And that's perfectly fine. But when you can, don't beat yourself up. Congratulate yourself. And then get out, try and have a walk in the countryside, connect. I think that's one of the universal things, that if you connect with nature, that's how we're hardwired to live, isn't it? We've been human beings for, well, since we climbed down from the trees 6 million years ago. But we've only been living this unnatural life for 250 years since the Industrial Revolution, or, in the last 50 years since this crazy globalised world and all the processed food and all of that. So try and connect with what is in your heart and do as much of that as you can do, and breathe. you know, I could tell you, all right, music is good, but some people don't. They're not enthused, and they don't find a lot of joy in music. For some people, it's making things. For some people, it's spreadsheets. It can be anything, but lose yourself in what you love. Distract yourself, breathe, and know that it's a gradual process, and there's a point to the pain. That if you think about the most incredible people who have ever lived, they are incredible because they've been through life-threatening trauma. It's not the only path to peace, but it is a very powerful path to peace. So what you're going through, especially if you are a sensitive person, then this is a very powerful path to the most incredible peace and power and fearlessness, and I can promise you that it's there for you, and it's the point of the pain, and that makes the pain bearable. So there we are. That's a bit of my take on it, and I hope this is helpful. I send you my love, and when you start to get a bit better, you can start sending out the love to other people, and you become a guide to other people that are just beginning the journey, and that's how it works. Okay, bye bye now.